What's up, everybody? Welcome to Vic's Yard to Table. Today I'm going to show you how I make my meatballs in a wood-fired pizza oven. It gets hit with a little smoke, it puts a nice crust on the outside, and stays juicy on the inside. Let's go. So let's get right into it. I want to give you the list of ingredients. There's 1 pound of ground beef. I like to use 80-20. There's a pound of ground pork. Also like to use 80-20, nothing too lean. 1 cup of homemade breadcrumbs. 1/2 cup of Parmesan or Reggiano cheese. 2 cloves of garlic. A few fresh basil leaves. 2 tablespoons of whole milk. 2 eggs. Salt and pepper. So the first thing I like to do is make my own homemade breadcrumbs. So usually what I'll do is I'll go to the store and I'll get a loaf of French bread, and then I'll cut off the crust and I'll use the inner part of the bread, and I put it in the food processor and measure out 1 cup. So the breadcrumbs are there for texture and moisture. They're not just a filler. They act like a sponge and hold onto juices as the meat cooks. This is what will keep your meatballs tender and juicy instead of dense or rubbery. They also help give the meatballs structure so they stay together without needing to overwork the meat. Overworking the meat will give you a tough meatball. Just think of breadcrumbs as your insurance against dry meatballs. So to start with, I put my 1 cup of breadcrumbs in a bowl. We also want to add 2 tablespoons of milk. The milk softens the breadcrumbs so they blend smoothly into the meat. This combination traps the moisture inside the meatball as it cooks. This results in a lighter, softer, more tender meatball. Actually, without the milk, dry breadcrumbs can actually steal moisture from the meat, so don't sleep on the breadcrumbs and milk. So I started raising backyard chickens for the eggs, and we need 2 eggs for the recipe. So my black and white chicken here is named General Tso. The dark brown one is named Barbecue, and the yellow one in the back is Nugget. They've been producing 2 to 3 eggs every single day for the last few months. Thanks, girls. So the eggs are really important because they help bind everything together, and it helps keep the meatball tender so they hold their shape without getting dry. After that, I grate a 1/2 cup of Parmesan or Reggiano. Make sure, if you can, always try to get the real Parmesan or Reggiano, not the green stuff in the can. Parmesan or Reggiano is aged for 2 years in Italy, and it gives you that deeper, salty flavor that melts right into the sauce and takes the whole meal up a level. Okay, 1/2 cup of Parmesan or Reggiano going in. So now I get my 2 cloves of garlic and I peel them. And for this recipe, I usually use a microplane. That way I can get it down to basically a fine puree or almost like a paste. Then I throw the garlic in the bowl. So I'm growing some basil in my hydroponic system. I have them growing in a Dutch bucket system, to be exact. So I'm gonna grab a few leaves. After that, I add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper to taste. Remember, the Parmesan or Reggiano is already a little bit salty, so don't overdo it on the salt. You want the breadcrumbs to hydrate and the seasoning to distribute evenly, but you don't want to compress the mixture. That's how meatballs turn tough instead of tender. So now that we've combined all of the ingredients, the breadcrumbs, the milk, the eggs, the Parmesan or Reggiano, the basil, the garlic, the salt and pepper, Always try and use a fork here because it gently combines everything without overworking it. So now I want to add the 1 pound of ground beef and 1 pound of pork. For this part, I like to mix the meat by hand so I can feel the texture, but you don't want to overwork it. Over mixing will make the proteins tighten up, which turns your meatballs dense and tough instead of light and juicy. Once everything is just combined and it still feels soft, that's when you want to stop. If it starts feeling sticky and pasty like sausage meat, you went too far. I like to do about 3 ounces per meatball, so I like to weigh them out so they can be pretty consistent. You can go bigger or smaller, it's up to you. I know that at 3 ounces each though, I can make 13 meatballs and they fit perfectly in my 12-inch cast iron pan. After that, I get my fire started in my Alfa 1 pizza oven. I like to start it with a couple of levels of smaller wood splits, and then I set it up log cabin style with a couple of larger wood splits on top. While I'm warming up the pizza oven, I start cracking some eggs so I can make some homemade pasta. I'll go over my homemade pasta in an upcoming video. I also get my sauce going, which I'll go over in an upcoming video as well. I get my oven temperature up to 450 degrees and I put my cast iron pan in there with a little bit of olive oil to warm it up. So these are only going to take about 10 to 15 minutes of cooking. I pull these out around 150 to 155 degrees Fahrenheit so they stay juicy. They'll carry over a few degrees while resting, which brings them right into the fully cooked zone. So I really hope you enjoyed the video. These meatballs are definitely worth making. I hope you give it a try. If you learned something or got something out of this, give me a thumbs up. And if you're into wood-fired cooking, smoking, or grilling, I post stuff like this every week.